Hello traders and investors, I'm L.A. Little. I'm an institutional advisor, a professional trader, and the author of Neoclassical Technical Analysis. Hey folks, let's get started here. It's March 18th, about an hour and a half into trading. And the trades, as you can see, is, the market's been selling down this morning everywhere you look. Still above the lows in all cases on the major indexes. But what's driving it all, of course, is oil. And oil has been the primary mover of everything for a while now. Oil is trying to get a little bit of a retrace here as I talk. This is the contract that's the most front contract on the QM, the oil futures. You got a bullish retest regen here now, so we'll see how it behaves when it gets there. But, this is the market. I can't remember a time when the Fed was overshadowed by some other event. It's been so long, right? Every Fed meeting for so long has been the event. Well, today's the Fed meeting and nobody's even talking about it. They're talking about oil, they're talking about the Middle East. And that's what's driving everything. Now, what I would have you note is even though oil, and let me pull this back up here and show you, even though oil is sitting up here at its highs, that it's made, these were the highest highs that it made, even though it's pushing back up to those highs, the market on a relative sense is actually holding pretty well. You're down 0.5%. I mean, that's not much at all, really, considering what's happening with oil up 7% or something today. So is it a lost cause? No. Is it something you want to invest in? Probably not, in terms of the market. But at the same time, market's trying to claw out some sort of a bottom here on a short-term basis. I'm going to touch on uranium later, but let me quickly just look at the market here. I'm going to pull up the SPYs. You can see you got breakdowns on the daily, right? The key level still is on the weekly. I've talked about this multiple times. It's here. So you want to get to that level, 650.85 on the SPY. When we get there, we'll probably get a sustainable bounce. Until then, we'll just get these 2-day bounces, like we just saw, that get sold. And, that's just the way it is. Like it or not, this market's trying to roll over, right? Long-term move up, now you're rolling. It's going to get here. It's going to get a more, a longer bounce, shall we say, multiple day kind of move potentially, because that will be a bearish retest regen at the time if it breaks it. And then eventually you want to move back to this area. That's the key area, and that's where you're going to want to buy it. So we'll see how it develops, but that's my suspicion of what's happening. There are a few stocks, Palantir being a good example, that are going counter trend right now. Now, Palantir has to get over on the weekly, over this bearish retest regen, 161.15. Once it gets over that and closes on a weekly basis, on a weekly time frame, this thing has turned. And so I like Palantir. I like the way it's behaving. You can see, if you're a classical guy, you can see the kind of cup and handle that's taking place. Never got that retrace back here that I wanted to buy, so I've had to buy up here on this smaller retrace. If it gets back down there, I'll buy more. But I like the way Palantir is behaving compared to most things in this market. If we look at just two other stocks, and then I want to head over to uranium. Here's Hood. This has been a star performer. Now it's been selling off like everything else. It's taken a huge hit. Buy is in this area on this bullish retest regen as it gets into it. That's roughly anywhere from about 61 to 67. And if you're in coin, which has already got its bounce, I think anything up into this bearish retest regen around 235 is something you have to sell into if you're already there, or short if that's what you're after. Okay, so that's the way those look. Let me go to uranium, because uranium, everybody talks about how uranium is so bullish. I'm still bullish on it long term, right? But you have to trade the charts. You have to trade what's happening. Let me go to the underlying contract. So here's the Toronto Exchange uranium, Sprott physical uranium. This is a bearish retest regen. I'm on a daily. This is a bearish retest regen. What does it do? It pushes into it, tests into both of them, can't get over them, right? Heads back down. Now, it doesn't mean it necessarily is going to go down and break another swing point low, but it potentially can. On a short-term basis, it's struggling, right? Sell off, sideways, right? Range. Potentially a lower range can develop. Maybe it stays in this range. If you're buying it, the buy is down at the bottom. You know, when it tests, you just have to see how it tests. But uranium right now is struggling, and it's going to continue to struggle until it doesn't, right? I mean, that's the way markets work. Now, if you flip over to the weekly, these are bullish retest regens. And so far, it's holding them both, and that's good. The bottom here on the UU in is 2621. So as long as it holds that, right, on a weekly basis, this thing remains bullish. It's just doing what it normally should do, and that is it's coming back, testing, right, and seeing if it's going to hold. And so am I bullish long term? Sure. You know, you got volume up here at the top. You know, there's a lot of good things on this chart. You got volume at the top, right? Big volume bar. You sell off, that's natural, right? In other words, you got too enthused on the way up. You sell back down. You come into what should be support, which so far is. Hopefully it's going to trade back up is what you think, and I agree with that. You got a couple of long tails here, which is not, you know, they're not horrible, but they're kind of long tails. That's bad. If you look at the monthly, you spiked up. You almost hit the highs, right? You got very close on volume, right? Didn't quite test it, but got close to it. This, folks, is going to continue to work its way up, but it's on a monthly basis. If you got a lot of shares, if you're trading this, you're going to have to you're going to have to trade it if you want to make money in the short term. If you're a long-term, holder and you just want to hold, that's fine. That's a different trade. I do think long-term it's going to make new highs, but right now it's struggling. And I could go into the individual stocks. They've been a little bit stronger, some of them. CCJ, you can see it's just coming back in, trying to hold here. I like the space, don't get me wrong. At the same time, I'm a trader. I don't just sit in something if it's not performing. I trade around a core position, which is what I'm doing. So if that's your deal, you trade these pops that can't get over bearish retest regens. You buy them back towards the bottoms. That's it. Have a great one. See you next time.